Hi, I'm Jim Austin. Welcome to Angler's Paradise. To the right of me is the Big Muddy, better known as the Mississippi River. We'll be filming here today, so stay tuned to Angler's Paradise. We'll be right back. I was asked about crankbait fishing. Now, crankbait fishing, to me, is probably the most difficult form of bass fishing there is. Reason being, there's so many different types of crankbait. You got some crankbaits that runs deep, some that run shallow, some have a tight wobble, some have a wide wobble. Some are good for summer, some are good for winter, some are good for fall and spring. There are just so many. And then you got to factor in the color of the water, which is going to have a great bearing on the color of the crankbait that you're going to use. So when you talk about crankbait fishing, you really got to be on your P's and Q's to be very effective. But now there are a lot of fishermen, a lot of you professionals make their living with nothing but a crankbait. So a crankbait is, trust me, is a very, very effective lure. You just have to learn how to master it. For an example, you got the small crankbait, you got the shallow running crank, you got a crankbait with a big wobble, you got just a rattling crankbait. This crankbait is used primarily when fishing over deep water, but feeding underneath the surface, especially when they're schooling. This crankbait is good in stained water. This one is good in stained water. This one is good in clear water. This is called a flat crankbait. It gives you a different wobble than all the other crankbaits. This crankbait has a BB in the lip for depth. This is a color. This crankbait can be the difference whether or not you catch fish or not, because if you use a gold and black crankbait, it can either work in stained water or clear water. The key thing is that you're gonna have to know your crankbait in order to catch fish. You just can't pick up one crankbait and expect for this lure to catch fish at all times. There's a science to using crankbait, and if you're ever gonna become very effective, you're gonna have to learn how to use crankbait. We're going to cover some of the things, but it's impossible for me to cover everything about crankbait. But I'm going to try to touch on some of the most important things that you need to know in order to catch fish with the crankbait. Talked about crankbait, but now let me show you how to use a crankbait. You see this rod? See how limber that rod is? See how limber that rod? You want your good limber rod. Some of those old crappie rods that you use for spot fishing or crappie fishing or even brim fishing, it's not a bad rod to use when using a crankbait, because of the fact when that fish come up and take the crankbait, you want that rod to give. You want to give that fish a chance to suck that lure in. Because if you got a stiff rod and he feels the tension, he's going to spit it out. I've actually seen largemouth bass. Take the crankbait all the way in the mouth, close the mouth, and then blow it back out. And the angler never failed to strike. But with a limber rod, the fish will not feel you. You don't feel the tension. He'll hold the fish. He'll hold the lure in his mouth longer. Give you an opportunity to set the hook. Let's see if we can catch one. Today it's cloudy, fish are kind of scouted. Right now we're fishing around a pier, but I don't think you're going to catch fish on the pier today because they're not looking for a place to hide. They're just roaming the banks. So I'm going to fish between this pier and the next one, and I believe that we'll probably catch a fish somewhere in that area. Let's try it and see. Now you notice the color that I'm using. You know, we talked about color. I'm using a dark green with a bright chartreuse belly. And the reason being, the type of water that I'm fishing, it's not extremely clear, but it's not that stained either. This color seems to work best for this color water. And also the wobble that I have this time of the year, this the type of wobble that I want my lure to give me, this lure will do it for me. So let's see if we can catch a fish. Let's go up on the bank. You notice I hold my rod tip down. I like, you've noticed me, it seems like every fish I catch, I hold my rod tip down. The reason why I do that, I'm trying to keep that fish from breaking water. If you're holding your rod tip like this and the fish comes out of water and shakes his head, a lot of times he can shake the lure out of his mouth. Now it look good for TV, but it's not good when you're fishing a tournament and you lose a 10-pound bass because you're trying to be pretty. So I like to hold my rod down because when he hits, I want to keep it down in the water like that. Now, it's left for you how you want to hold your rod. I'm only going to teach you how to catch the fish. It's left for you to land the fish. Oh, dang, that's a good fish. Oh, man. Oh, man. Something got hung on something. There you go. Oh, that's a good fish. Oh, he got around a tree. That's what he did. He got around a tree. I'm bringing the tree and the fish all in together. Oh, man. Oh, wow. Something got around a darn tree. Ah! It wasn't pretty, but I got the fish. That's all that counts. Sometimes it happens like that. Okay. My directors tell me it's time to go. But I've had a great time today, and I certainly hope that you have too. Remember all the things we talked about. Crankbait. Fishing here on the Centennial Lake in historic Vicksburg, Mississippi has been nothing but pure pleasure for me, and I certainly hope that you've enjoyed it. So don't forget those techniques, because they will come in handy at some point in time when you're out there fishing. You got to go. But I think I'm going to stay around because I'm having too much fun. That one is right there. See you next week. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and anglersparadise.net.